Wrath of the Druids isn't that bad. Now, I know I did say that I had stopped playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but I thought the least I could do was give this DLC a chance, and to say the least, it took me off guard. Don't get me wrong, it certainly has its weak points, and we will get to those, but to say I didn't overall enjoy the experience of Wrath of the Druids would be a lie. Now, I could easily come in and rant about how Assassin's Creed Valhalla Wrath of the Druids is the worst thing ever made, how it's a continuation of the fall from grace of this series, but that would be disingenuous. And I like being honest on this channel. Wrath of the Druids, as we all know, it takes the player to Ireland, which in all reality is the worst part of this DLC. Similarly to the added section of England in the river raids, Ireland is nothing but a stripped back version of the main world, with the same bland hilly scenery for miles around. And although I am a fan of the way Dublin combines the aesthetics of Viking villages and large Christian cities, it, along with the other towns in Ireland, doesn't really have anything that makes it feel particularly special. But aside from aesthetics, where the world really feels like a downgrade is in its content, as for whatever reason the actual semi-interesting features of England's open world have been stripped back, leaving only the filler raids and bandit camps that have plagued this franchise for its last 3 entries. Raids, contracts, wealth, it's all there, without any world events in between to break up the monotony of clearing your checklist of a compass. That being said, the raids and contracts themselves actually have a purpose that's slightly engaging now, which I gotta say, it's quite nice. The trading system, newly introduced into Wrath of the Druids, is introduced early on in the DLC. Dublin, by the time Eivor gets there, is considered the trading hub of Ireland, being a major port town with a vast and diverse population of Irish, Norse, English, and Persian. Azar, the first character you meet in the DLC, and in my opinion a character that's massively underused, is a Persian merchant, and thanks to their contacts in the east, Dublin's able to set up trade for rare and valuable materials. And with Eivor's help, this will expand it into a massive wealthy and powerful city. To do so, Eivor has to set up trading posts throughout the country to build a network of Irish trade that has Dublin at its centre, and this is what opens up the new raids, as well as the assassination contracts, which are clearly inspired by the same mission type of the classic games. Most of them are pretty simple, with the basic find target, kill / steal from target, escape formula, but thanks to the new optional objectives, the game finally incentivizes a playstyle akin to classic games, encouraging stealth and discretion in pursuing your contracts. Although I still don't quite understand the context of why a king would plead with you not to take any damage. That's a bit weird. Speaking of classic AC elements, we're also introduced to the Children of Danu, a cult that are set on destroying Christianity that Eivor sent to hunt down and assassinate one by one. Yeah, they're literally the Order of the Ancients. Like, they have the exact same fucking motivations as the Order of the Ancients. The tree is set up the exact same way. They even have that classic silhouette that spoils the leader of the cult. It's really just the exact same, but it's kind of fun. They don't have White Room Confessions though, which is a major disappointment. Ubisoft, sort it out. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video on Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Today we'll be spending all of my fucking money on microtransactions, and let's go. I should probably cut that. I shouldn't burn bridges. It's a joke, guys. Speaking of the Order and the story itself, after being introduced to Eivor's cousin, who's created out of thin air, we're sent on yet another king-making journey, the exact same formula of countless arcs in the main story. We destroy factions, we build alliances, we siege castles, we do fetch quests for our king. It's all pretty much the same, it's all been seen before, and if you enjoy that content in the main game like I do, then you will enjoy it here in Wrath of the Druids. That being said, because it's all the same content as the main game, it ends up becoming kind of forgettable. When you do the same arc for 75 hours straight, they kind of all start merging into each other. But if there's one thing that prevents Wrath of the Druids narrative from being completely forgettable, it's the characters. Namely, the stubborn king Flann Shinna, Eivor's cousin Barid, who by the way has one of the best voice actors in the game and I will not hear any arguments about this, the trade merchant Azar, and of course the red-headed queen herself, Kira, who is essentially Randvi with an actual fucking personality, which is pretty nice. Oh, and she's also our look into the world of the Druids, but honestly, the Druids themselves make up like 5% of this DLC. Yeah, I still don't get why they called it Wrath of the Druids. These characters hold the entire narrative together, with the plot itself being the same muddled set of king feuds and castle sieges we've seen 1,000 times over. And Eivor herself acts as a slightly more mature, more level-headed, wiser figure. Although that should kind of be a given, considering the DLC takes place 2 years after the events of the main game. Although it does take place after the main story though, it doesn't really feel like it. In fact, at times, it doesn't even feel like it takes place in the same world as the main game. game, especially considering none of the events of the main game are ever mentioned. Instead, it feels like a tacked on side story that's completely inconsequential in the context of the wider game of Valhalla. And that's where we get to the biggest problem with this DLC. It doesn't have any impact on Assassin's Creed Valhalla at all. I just realized that this mug is fucking nasty. Like, this is so dirty. Still tastes good though. I make good coffee. I make good fucking coffee. The purpose of single-player DLC, since its inception back in the late 2000s, was to add to games. Add more content, yes, but also add something that noticeably expands on the game in interesting ways. Whether that's with a quality story, with a different style of gameplay, hell, with a fucking zombie mode in the case of Undead Nightmare. DLCs are the place dev teams can take risks. They can move away from the formula of the main game, but Valhalla does the opposite. Instead of taking any risks, Wrath of the Druids plays it so safe and inoffensive that it almost feels as if the dev team were scared to do anything that strayed away from Valhalla's main gameplay loop. It simply feels like yet another arc that has little to no effect on the overarching story or Eivor's journey, and whilst I feel the writing and new characters are mostly decent and occasionally great, it all feels meaningless. If you look at past Assassin's Creed DLCs, they have almost always had an overall effect on the quality of their respective games. Dead Kings, the Da Vinci Disappearance, the Hidden Ones, they all made their games significantly better, whilst Jack the Ripper and Fate of Atlantis made their games notably worse. But Wrath of the Druids doesn't fall into either of these camps, and that's not a good thing. As much as I dislike Fate of Atlantis, it at least made me feel something. It made a significant difference to Odyssey as a whole, and it became a central part of my distaste for that game. If the Fate of Atlantis didn't exist, it would make Odyssey noticeably better. If Dead Kings didn't exist, it would make Unity noticeably worse. But if Wrath of the Druids didn't exist, Valhalla would be the exact same game. If this DLC didn't exist, nothing would change, no one would be any the wiser, no one would really be missing out on anything. If you enjoy Valhalla, then you'll enjoy the DLC. If you hate Valhalla, then you'll hate the DLC even more. But the fact of the matter is, if you never played the DLC, then you'd have the exact same opinion that you already have. And at the end of the day, that's what your enjoyment of Wrath of the Druids will come down to. Whether you're a fan of Assassin's Creed Valhalla, or you're not. It's not going to blow anyone away, it's not going to stick around for very long in anyone's mind, it's going to be swiftly forgotten along with most of Valhalla's post-launch content. But if you are still invested in the game, if you do still enjoy the game, then it'll at least act as an enjoyable 15-hour add-on that you can without a doubt have a good time in. Again though, if you don't like Valhalla the game, then do not buy this DLC. I repeat, do not buy this DLC. You will absolutely fucking despise it, and it will make Valhalla as a whole even worse in your mind. As sad as it is to say, it's simply not made for you, and I wouldn't want anyone to waste their money on something they're just gonna hate. God damn. I make some good goddamn coffee. I'm telling you, I make some quality fucking coffee. I know that this review has been a bit scatterbrained and all over the place, but similarly to Valhalla itself, this DLC is kind of hard to talk about clearly. Sharing all the flaws of Valhalla and all the qualities of it, it essentially acts as nothing more than an extra arc to throw onto the Alliance map. I can appreciate what it tried to do, I can appreciate the effort that was put into it, I can appreciate the narrative, I can appreciate the attempt to include Assassin's Creed elements. But that is all purely because I can still appreciate Valhalla as a game. Oh yeah, and like I said, the actual druids only show up like twice, and the werewolf only shows up once. So yeah, that was just classic Ubisoft being shit at marketing. Yeah, you don't gotta worry about it. With all that being said, I do hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd really be appreciated and would really help me out if you could hit like. And also, if you're new here and want to see more content like this, make sure to subscribe and turn post notifications on. Hit the bell so you don't miss any more videos like it. With all that being said, oh wait, no, wait. Patreon links, Discord links, Twitter links, Twitch links, all in the description below. I can't forget to plug these things. And with all that being said, I've been Joe, aka Found a Scarab, and I will see you in the next one.